From the news station, Fox 35 News Edge at 11 starts now.
Breaking right now on the News Edge, we have the latest advisory. It is the 11 o'clock. Good evening and welcome, everybody. I'm Charles Belloy.
And I'm Luann Sorrell. We are joined by the chief, meteorologist Glenn Richards. And Glenn, you guys nailed this forecast. It's doing exactly what you and your team said it would.
That's right. A couple of days ago, we started seeing those models. Remember, shifting. We were talking about how it's going to probably end up about 70 to 100 miles offshore. It's exactly where it's at right now. So it looks like as we go through the overnight, with the winds still holding at 110 miles per hour, it's still going to be producing enough wind energy along our coastline that we are expecting to get some minor damage. There will be some power outages. So again, that is the latest 110 mile per hour winds moving towards the north and to the northwest. It looks like overall, as we go through the overnight, we are expecting to see again the pressure to continue to rise. Right, the pressure has already come up 3 millibars just in the last 3 hours. So again, that's good news. So now up to 959 millibars, was 956. Again, moving north-northwest officially now at 6. So it was northwest. Now it's north-northwest. We've been talking about that for a few hours now. How, again, it's almost due north, and that's good because that means as we go through the overnight, the actual stronger wind field will actually get farther and farther away from our coastline, and even just an extra 5-10 miles does make a big load of difference. Here's the latest forecast track showing that at 8 a.m., it'll be about the same latitude as about St. Augustine. So at 8 a.m., that'll be the center, which means the surge will be up that way. So the storm surge is currently increasing in Volusia County, but is currently decreasing down in Brevard County. As we head into the latter part of the day tomorrow on Wednesday by 8 p.m., again, still a Category 2. It's sitting right very near or right over the Gulf Stream water, so it holds that energy. And then as we get into Thursday, Friday, scooting off to the north and east, eventually ending up across eastern portions of Canada. The warnings do continue. That has not been adjusted at all, so still the potential of hurricane gusts out across Brevard County, also through Volusia, Flagler, and St. Johns County. Inland counties now extend all the way up to the north, now up towards Jacksonville, expecting tropical storm force wind gusts, including Metro Orlando. Here is live radar again, showing the main core of wind in the yellow right here. It is staying offshore. It's trying to build back towards us, but just as it does, it hits slightly cooler waters, and again, overall, beginning to fall apart just a little bit. So still very windy. We're getting those gusts over 40 miles per hour, but again, we're just not getting those sustained winds of 50 and 60 and 70, again, like some of the models did show a few days ago. Again, the center is just far enough offshore that it is helping us, no doubt about it. But here's some heavier rain just right there, kind of blowing up out over the river, blowing south over towards Palm Bay. Also be aware, again, the winds aloft, again, these the winds that are steering this rain is blowing at 65 miles per hour. So that means all it takes is just a little bit of heavy rain to pull down those 65 mile per hour winds down to the surface. So at times you can get kind of little streaky damage, again, as those stronger winds come down. Again, with some of those heavier cells, and that's what's going on right now in Brevard County. Again, as I mentioned, the main core of real strong sustained winds is offshore. Some of it is going to graze the Cape, so we're going to see more and more tropical storm wind gusts. We may get up to hurricane force, again, out over the Cape. This would be the time that it's going to happen if we're going to find some hurricane gusts in central Florida. It is going to be the next hour or so out over the Cape, which right now is about 100 miles to the west of the center of Dorian. Again, the strongest winds off of Volusia County, they're way offshore. So again, that's not an issue right now, but at times with some of these bands, as they do come ashore, you will in fact get those wind gusts over 40 to 45 miles per hour. No rotating storms still. Again, we're keeping an eye on that potential. This is the velocity mode of our Guardian radar, and we are not finding, again, any rotating storms that could produce a funnel cloud or a tornado. Still none going on. Again, I watch it live as you're watching it. We keep getting data in. Had some lightning strikes earlier back across southern Flagler County. They have now weakened, so that is good. Again, there's the center of Dorian. There's still heavy rain on the east side. It's just that the radar beam cannot penetrate through all of that and see to the other side in a real clear picture. But again, it is there. So again, it looks like the heaviest rain, again, still sitting offshore as we track it. The rain will be increasing now in Merritt Island and also through Port St. John over the next half of an hour. Again, that area of rain that is out to the east is moving at you, again, coming towards you from the east. DeLeon Springs and Umatilla, again, still some moderate to heavy rain at at times, and some gusty winds over 25 miles per hour. Astatula, Ocoee, Groveland, and Citrus Ridge, again, to the north and west right now of Metro Orlando. Extending out into Lake County, again, you're kind of right on the edge of it. You are getting some wind gusts also over 25 miles per hour. Haines City and Celebration. Again, good news. We're on the west end of this hurricane. We're not getting that real rotation that would produce a tornado, so nothing like that at all expected overnight tonight for inland areas, so rest easy. So right now, there's the center of Dorian, officially now sitting 100 miles due east of Port Canaveral, Cape Canaveral, and NASA. So again, some great news. The strongest winds, which we had some fear, and they were preparing, of course, for the potential of winds of 100 miles per hour back over towards the Cape again. So they took a lot of precautions with all the rockets out there, and right now that is not going to happen. They will be getting some wind gusts up to maybe 74, 75, but that would be about it. Here is the forecast for those winds as we go through the night. Again, these are the wind gusts, expecting 46 miles per hour. Again, these are, this is like a snapshot in time. So in between, you might get some gusts a little bit higher, but this is at about 1:30 in the morning. 46 in Titusville, 39 in Melbourne, about 25 in Orlando. By 5 a.m., notice the winds will be at their peak in Daytona. So as I mentioned earlier, we were tracking the strong winds, the stronger sustained winds of 30, 35 down at Brevard. We were kind of tracking that up to the north of you, up towards Daytona, saying that around 4 to 5 a.m. they would hit. So there they are, about 5 a.m., 43 mile per hour winds, 39, and then the wind direction begins to change by 8 a.m. Over in Daytona, out across Lake County, 25 mile per hour wind coming in from the west. And there's the center of Dorian at 8 o'clock in the morning, again, sitting up around the St. Augustine area by 10:30 in the morning. Of course, getting a little farther to the north, our winds will all be coming in from the west, a little out of the northwest. Still going to be a very breezy to windy day. A lot of clouds in the morning, still some lingering showers. And then as we get into the afternoon, wind direction will be due west. By evening, the winds ease up back down to about 20 miles per hour. So overall, here's what you can expect. Expect winds again overnight, 39 to 60 miles per hour along the coast. Again, the 60 would be your gust, nothing sustained like that. Metro Orlando, the wind gusts would be about 30 to 40 miles per hour. Could have a few gusts a little bit higher than that, but that's the extent of it. That's what we were calling for during the day yesterday. And a storm surge, again, that is building right now up to the north. That is now moving through Volusia County, or up into Volusia County. Next up will be Flagler County. And again, you can expect a storm surge of about 3 to 4 feet. That is what we had down in Indian River County, also in southern Brevard. So again, we're expecting similar, again, as you go farther to the north. So Charles and Luann, again, the center of the system is just far enough offshore, 100 miles offshore of the Cape right now, to keep the most damaging winds, of course, offshore.
That is great news, Glenn. Thank you. And we have live team coverage all across Central Florida tonight as Dorian's outer band starts slamming the state.
The news station's Lara Greenberg live in Melbourne for us tonight. Lara?
Good evening, guys. Yeah, we're seeing the waves crashing in, and we're seeing high tide right now. I want to show you just how high that tide is. It's coming all the way back up to the seawall almost here. And of course, whoop, there's a wind gust. And of course, this is one of the concerns for the beaches, is possible erosion happening with this storm coming through. Oh, there we got a little crab walking right through there. And so that's what we're seeing right now. We're seeing some of those wind gusts still coming through intermittently, certainly not as severe as they were earlier this evening. We are seeing things calm down a little bit here in Brevard County. But earlier tonight, up until about 8 o'clock, even with that wind, there we go again, there were still a lot of people here on the beach. Earlier tonight, people still making their way to the beach. At Indy Atlantic, folks taking pictures, children dancing in the rain, kayaks crashing. Anything to get out of the house after days worth of cabin fever set in. Dorian taking so long to make it to the Florida coast that at this point, people we spoke with were more excited for the storm than scared of it.
It's looking, I mean, it looks kind of windy out there. The waters look a little angry, you know.
Are you worried at this point?
To be honest with you, not too much. No, not really. That's why we're here.
But later, wind gusts picking up, reaching 45 miles per hour, clearing the beach of everyone, even daredevils. And we are still seeing some of those angry waters right now. We also, as we were driving around town earlier tonight, we saw a few power lights that were, a few traffic lights, excuse me, that were out. We saw some palm trees that were down. So we are seeing a little bit of damage throughout the area. There's also a couple thousand people, homes and businesses without power right now, but they are expected to get that power back on. FP&L working on that. So we will continue to monitor the situation out here in Brevard County throughout the evening. Live tonight in Brevard County, Lara Greenberg, Fox 35 News.
Lara, thank you. Volusia County also getting pounded with some heavy wind and rain.
The news station's Holly Bristow is live in Daytona Beach. It's headed your way, Holly.
Well, it sounds like the rain is headed our way, but thankfully we've been in a lull from the rain for a while. I've been playing with the anemometer again, and we've had winds that have been averaging around 25 miles per hour, according to my little device here, peaking around 35. Just gusts every now and then, nothing too crazy. But what you will notice is that the tide is getting super high. We were parked over there under that little overpass, and the water was shooting through there, so we didn't feel safe. So we decided to come up the boardwalk and over here to this little beach access area, and there's a little spit of sand that's carved out that is still dry, and the water isn't coming up quite this high. You'll see some nice little birds over there playing in the water, playing in the breeze, and you can definitely see some good sea spray spitting out right up over the pier here in Daytona Beach. We still have not seen anything near the last two hurricanes that we've had in this area, Matthew and Irma. And if we take a look up this way, you'll see the little bit of damage that we have found here, and I wouldn't exactly call it damage, but the wind has definitely blown some things around. We've got the tops of some of these trash cans here at the public beach accesses that have flown off. And we've got a couple of lights over here at the Daytona Beach Pier that it looks like the covers have blown off, and we've got one far to the right. You can see that the light is out and it's just dangling and looks like that could blow at any time. So another reason that we're standing where we are instead of a little bit further that way. Interesting to see what exactly happens here. We had a couple of power outages, but nothing super severe beachside, about a 2 to 3 block just on the east side of A1A that was without power. We also, I wanted to report that we do have some bridge closures. The Dunlawton Bridge in Daytona Beach is closed in both directions. According to the emergency management, the North and South Causeway in New Smyrna Beach is closed to traffic at this point. And then we've got one down in Ormond Beach that is also closed. Now, they are saying that in some circumstances they will still let people go west if there is some sort of emergency, but for the most part, most of these bridges are closed. For now, reporting live in Daytona Beach, Holly Bristow, Fox 35 News.
Holly, good to see only some minor damage out there. Thank you. Well, tonight, that mandatory curfew that was set for Osceola County has been lifted. The improved forecast from the National Weather Service resulting in the change.
Well, Marion County is bracing for the rain and winds Dorian may bring inland. Schools there will be closed through Friday, and the county has opened 3 more shelters today: Fort McCoy School, North Marion Middle School, and Lake Weir High School.
In Seminole County, hundreds of people have been using the shelters there. The county hopes to close those shelters, though, by 1 p.m. tomorrow, depending on what happens with Dorian's path. As for the Sanford Airport, they are planning to reopen by 11 a.m. tomorrow.
Tonight, a curfew is in effect for Flagler Beach. It is keeping people off of the island as conditions turn worse. News station's David Bowden has been stationed there live for us. Power went out, then it was back on. What's it doing now?
We've got the power on, and FPL tells us about 2,000 people, just shy of 2,000 people, were affected by that power outage. It may have been a wind event. No definite word exactly at this point what caused it. But you were talking about that curfew. That's the sign of it right there behind me. You've got Flagler County Sheriffs and also the Flagler Police Department there monitoring the bridge, not letting anybody back over onto Flagler Beach at this point, and that is until further notice. We have had some of those feeder bands coming through the rain, very strong. We even had thunder and lightning a short time ago. Speaking of the folks who are there at the base of that bridge, though, they've been turning cars around, and when we were on the beach, they were getting folks off the beach. We spoke with some of the last people to leave.
This is the Flagler County Sheriff's Office. There is a 7 p.m. curfew in effect. Please evacuate the area or remain
The Flagler County Sheriff's Office Emergency Response Team working to keep residents and visitors safe. As the winds pick up on the beach, it's time to take Dorian as a serious storm. The time for sightseeing is over. Josephine Thompson is watching and says she's recalling being here on the beach as Matthew roared by this area in 2016.
A lot of folks, they lost a lot of, their belongings in terms of their homes, in terms of the flooding. So yeah, that's a big concern. We're at least a little bit inland, but my biggest concern and prayers are for them.
There you go. You ready to get out of here?
Absolutely. I got to go. The police are saying goodbye.
Dave Warning says he knows Dorian will do some damage. He just hopes the storm is far enough away and the damage is held to a minimum this time.
It's going to happen again. I'm just hoping that at least down there on that end with the work they've got going on, that it's braced up enough that it doesn't tear up what they've done and affect the people that actually live or have their businesses right there on that side.
Now, hopefully by daybreak, we will get the opportunity to go back over there onto the beach and actually check out if there was any significant damage. We again have had those feeder bands come through here. We've seen very strong rain, thunder, and lightning. Right now, we've got a light drizzle going on. Hopefully, it stays this way. For now, we are live in Flagler County. I'm David Bowden, Fox 35 News.
David, thank you for that report. UCF announcing it is staying closed through Thursday because of Dorian. The campus practically a ghost town today. We did not spot one single person on the sidewalks when we drove around campus earlier today.
A very similar scene at Orlando International Airport today. The airport closing overnight due to this storm. As of now, officials have not said when it will reopen. Passengers should check with their airlines. The news station is monitoring Hurricane Dorian around the clock. Coming up, we head back to Cocoa Beach where the winds are starting to pick up.
And we are getting a look at what's left of the Bahamas after Dorian roared through. And the images are haunting. Welcome back. In Brevard County, conditions are getting worse tonight. We want to get right out to the news station's Heather Gustafson. She is live tonight to show us. First of all, Heather, have you gone to higher ground?
Yes, Luann, I know I gave you guys a scare, but in all seriousness, that wave kind of snuck up on us. It wasn't even that bad, just minutes and seconds before when I was standing there. So just shows you how fast this storm is changing and moving. It's not even raining anymore. We saw some outages up in Flagler, but there are lights out here, so we do have power still out here in South Melbourne. We are seeing flooding, though, starting in some of the roads. This is one neighborhood here in South Melbourne, and over here's the drainage, so you can see why the flooding is starting. A lot of debris and palm fronds blocking this drain. So as always, if you see water on the ground, turn around, don't drown. That is a great safety tip to remember. And we're all from Florida, so we know how to deal with a hurricane, but just another safety tip: if you see any power lines down and there is water, either stay away, or I'm walking with my rubber boots just to be safe. So some good things to keep in mind. Again, just seeing some flooding starting out here in South Brevard County, but we still have power, and I will stay away from those strong waves so I don't scare you guys back at home, or my dad, who's probably watching on an app somewhere tonight. We'll send it back to you guys in the studio. For now, we're live in Brevard County. I'm Heather Gustafson, Fox 35 News.
Oh yeah, Dad was not happy with that at all.
Yeah, we weren't happy with it either. And there's a lot of people who are definitely not happy with this. Jaw-dropping video from the Bahamas tonight showing some of the widespread devastation from the hurricane. The storm hitting the island with winds topping 185 miles per hour, and it sat there for 36 hours just pummeling those islands. The news station speaking with the photographer Brandon Clement, who flew over the Abaco Islands and took that video.
Take a listen to what he had to say.
Went from just homes missing a few roofs, some outbuildings destroyed, very quickly to homes completely destroyed, to the communities completely destroyed and total destruction. Some of the barrier islands, some of the better built homes, they're definitely survivable, but weren't completely destroyed, but still had some significant damage. In the helicopter at the time, we were flying with 60-mile-an-hour winds. It was quite a rough ride. We didn't have a whole lot of gas because it's such a long flight to get there, and there's nowhere to refuel on the island because of the storm. So it was very quick. We had to go fast. We couldn't maneuver real well. Had to cover as much ground as we could as quickly as possible and get back. Saw people looting. Saw some people driving around the southern side of the island. Saw people trying to clear debris. I saw a little bit of everything. We can get down to one area called the Mud in Abaco. It was just complete destruction. It was a bunch of homes. Just looked like they were put in a blender, ground up, and just thrown back. So it is some areas that are just completely wiped out and annihilated.
That video is just heart-wrenching. Glenn, those poor people were just pummeled with Category 5 and Category 4 strength winds for, you said, almost 2 days straight, right?
36 hours. It just sat there. It first hit them real hard, and then all of a sudden it just slowed down, and then they are on the back edge of the eye wall on the eastern side. So, again, horrific. Again, 220-mile-per-hour wind gusts at that time. Thank goodness Dorian is nothing like that, and thank goodness, as we talked about 2 days ago, meteorologist Brooks Tomlin and I'm sure you were watching. Again, we were watching those models, and again, they were starting to hint and definitely starting to lean more to the east. Again, you don't want to get too far ahead in any way of the National Hurricane Center. You always have a concise message, but again, the models were showing this, that again, we would be looking at a system offshore, and because of that, we would definitely have less wind, but we still have the hurricane warnings, rightly so, we should, and the tropical storm warnings for the potential for those gusts of hurricane strength. But the good news right now, it is moving north-northwest at 6. Pressure has come up. Unfortunately, it's not moving fast enough. We'd love it to move like 10, 12 miles an hour. Just get out of here. Winds are 110 miles per hour. But again, the good news tonight is the main core of tropical storm force and hurricane winds. You can see it right here at the very end, right? Boom, right there. They are way offshore. We're talking 40 miles offshore for those stronger, sustained winds. Here's the latest forecast track again. And again, notice the perfect curve again of the track of Dorian. A little bit of wind shear is hitting it right now. More wind shear will accelerate it as we go through the next several days, but because it's over the warm Gulf Stream waters, it will maintain Category 2 strength for at least the next 2.5 days. Here are your warnings. Hurricane warnings again along our coastline down across Indian River County. If you're watching us down to the Sebastian area, out in Indian River County down towards Wabasso Beach, right now you are underneath a tropical storm warning, so no longer a hurricane warning. morning, and a tropical storm warning for inland areas, including Metro Orlando. On radar, again, we've been tracking this one big feeder band moving through Metro Orlando. That's breaking up. But again, the rain does continue along the coastline. We had one big flare up. And what's interesting, too, is what will happen a lot of times. You'll get the wind direction is just right, which it is right now, but that'll change soon. You can have the wind going right down the length of the Indian River. The Indian River is much warmer, the water temperature, than, of course, out over the ocean. So that will actually aid in enhancing the rainfall and actually increase it. So that's the reason why you just had a blast of heavy rain just go through Sebastian. It actually started and originated up to the north of you just about 15 minutes ago out in northern Brevard County over the warm Indian River water. So again, it doesn't matter where the water comes. If it's from the Atlantic, it's from the Indian River, it's from a lake, you know, a tropical system, it's going to take it. The atmosphere will absorb it. Right now, the heaviest winds, strongest winds are sitting offshore of the Cape. But again, a lot of reports of tropical storm force, again, coming along the coastline. Up in Volusia County, your strongest winds are not there yet. Again, I know you had a power outage, and you have the power outage, unfortunately, up in Flagler County. So hopefully, if you do have the power outage, you're using the Fox 35 weather app because, again, you can stream our newscast live on that. So that's the great power of that tool, not only the radar and the storm tracking and all that, but, again, you can watch us live and we give you those updates. But, again, right now, heavy rain is coming on through. You're going to get a little break in the rain, and then the strongest winds and rain will then begin to move on in. So Flagler County, Daytona Beach, again, heads up. In about another 4 more hours, your winds will start to amp up. No rotating storms off of Brevard County right now. Volusia County, the same thing. We do not see any of that. Again, how we know that is, again, this is all, because it's all green, it's solid green, no areas of red mixed in. We do not have any winds going in a different rotation. That's the joy of having your own Doppler radar, so we can track inside of these storms and see which way the wind is going. Years ago, all we could show you was rain. Now we can show you the rain and the potential of wind and hail and tornadoes, all that other stuff. All right, there's that convergent band, as I talked about, sitting offshore, onshore, that moved up around the Flagler County area about 2 hours ago. It's still in place, so still some heavy rain in Palm Coast shifting south. Also some, as I mentioned, a big area of strong winds just offshore now of Port Canaveral and Cape Canaveral. So it's trying to get there, but it's going to graze the coastline. So basically over at the port, you will be looking at your strongest wind showing up within about another 20 more minutes as that area grows towards you. Tracking this heavier rain offshore of Flagler County, now moving into Palm Coast over the next 20 minutes in Bunnell. Also, again, that convergent band inland out across Lake County now affecting Mount Dora, Astatula, excuse me, and also into Groveland. A little farther south, Citrus Ridge and Haines City and Winter Haven. Some more rain is moving at you. And again, one last stop is this heavy cell again that is moving through Sebastian, now quickly moving down into Vero Beach and just to the west, again, of the Indian River now, just inland. Again, the center of Dorian is 100 miles. Due east of the Cape, of the port. It is 110 miles east of southern Brevard County, and by the time it gets up to around Daytona, it'll be about 120 to 130. So that's the great news. It gets farther away. Here's the updated rainfall forecast. I want to show you this so you kind of get an idea as we go through the night what you can expect when it comes to the rain bands themselves. So this will be at about 2 a.m. Some heavier rain, steadier rain, now moving into Volusia County, northern Brevard County. Rain is easing up in Brevard. Still some scattered showers hitting Orlando, but it's not done yet. Watch what happens at 4 a.m. Again, because the system is weakening, but it's also drawing in the moisture from the warm Gulf Stream waters, we'll see more showers form. Another band looks to be forming around 4 to 5 a.m., moving through Seminole County, Lake County, Metro Orlando, extending down into Osceola. But again, the strongest winds will be hitting Daytona as we get into around 4, 5, 6. This is 7 a.m. when the surge is going to be hitting the Flagler County area and some of your strongest winds, and also the steadiest rain. Notice that's at 7 a.m. Still some of those rain bands, they get swung around at 65 miles per hour, blowing into Metro Orlando. Again, as we go through the morning, here's 10:30. There's Dorian getting farther away. Still some heavy rain around Palm Coast, extending into Daytona, even at noon tomorrow, and still mainly cloudy skies for all of us. I threw the cloud shield on top of it so you can kind of see if you maybe see a little bit of sunshine. By 2:30 in the afternoon, still the moderate to heavy rain going on up in Flagler County, lifting north by 5:30. Things looking much better, and by around 7 o'clock tomorrow evening, the rain will be over. There's your clearing. It starts up, of course, after the sun goes down as we head towards around 9, 10 o'clock, and then we're actually in clear skies as we get into the end of the week. So expect wind gusts overnight tonight, 39 to 60 miles per hour, mainly along the coast for those higher winds. Gusts to about 60, 65. Again, I have not seen any reports of hurricane gusts yet anywhere in our area. Metro Orlando wind gusts would be around 30 to 40 miles per hour overnight tonight. Again, it is enough to produce some power outages, so the power may go out in the tropical storm warning area, which is most of the metro area, not out to the west though. But again, along the coastline and inland, still a chance for some power outages and a storm surge again building north right now up into Volusia. That's going to be about 3 to 4 feet. Again, the storm surge down in Brevard County is beginning to ease up. So again, things are working out pretty good for us overall. We'll continue to track the rain, and again, knock on wood, hopefully we'll keep any threat of tornadoes that's way offshore and on the other side of the hurricane.
Glenn, thank you. Could be a messy morning commute, though.
I would probably bet on that.
Yeah, so be prepared. Coming up next from the news station, Hurricane Dorian rerouting cruises and dropping passengers off away from Florida. How one Florida couple is now trying to get back.
And be sure to download our Fox 35 weather app, where you can get the latest on Dorian's track and watch us live on that app. Even if you lose power, we're coming right back.
Welcome back to continuing coverage of Hurricane Dorian. The hurricane is having a big impact on thousands of cruise passengers. Several trips have been altered and some even canceled altogether. Now, some cruises even dropping their passengers off away from Florida.
What an inconvenience. The news station's Josh Cassio talking to a Florida couple who is now stuck in another state.
For Matt and Julie Beinhauer from Zephyr Hills, their recent 4-day cruise to the Bahamas was upended by Hurricane Dorian. They wound up in Cozumel and were supposed to return to Cape Canaveral, only to find out that return was changed too.
And they told us when we left Cozumel, again, we're out in the open water, that we're coming to New Orleans.
They said their cruise line, Norwegian, plans to charter a flight for passengers to get back home, but at this point, their plans, Their jobs and their lives are all out of whack.
When were you supposed to be back?
Monday morning, 7 a.m.
And obviously it's now Tuesday. When do you think you'll be back in Zephyr Hills? When is your plan to be back home?
We still don't know.
Beinhauer admits they didn't get travel insurance, and he wishes they did.
Insurance, hurricane, flood, and cruise.
Mark Jenkins is a spokesperson for AAA and says travel insurance, especially during hurricane season, is an important item to consider.
And it's really going to help secure your trip. If for whatever reason your cruise is delayed and you have to spend additional money out of pocket to stay in a hotel, you'll get those out-of-pocket expenses reimbursed to you.
Jenkins notes when it comes to cruising, once you sign on the dotted line, for the most part, you're locked in.
Cruising is very similar to taking a flight. If there's weather that impacts your itinerary, then the cruise line has the right to change the itinerary. Their ultimate goal is to, hold that sailing as scheduled.
Josh Cassio, Fox 35 News.
See, I never get travel insurance, but now I'm going to look into it.
I guess if you were going to cruise during hurricane season, yes.
Because now they're stuck. But does the insurance pay for, your flight back?
We're going to have to get an investigator on that. That's another story, Luann. Coming up on the news station, we head back out to the beaches, checking on the storm surge and the strong winds and heavy rain.
And be sure to download the Fox 35 weather app. It's free, but this thing is a lifesaver. I pretty much use it every day. You can get the latest on Dorian's track, and you can also watch us live on the app if you lose power. We'll be right back.
Yep.
¿Cuánto tiempo?
How much time do we have? Hey, how far out are we? We have 6 minutes.
I have you. Do you have me?
Right now on Fox 35, the news station.
Welcome back to our continuing coverage of Hurricane Dorian.
It is now 11:30. Let's check in with meteorologist Brooks Tomlin. And Brooks, it is pretty ominous to look at that radar and see this giant storm so close to our coast. But the good news is that it's not as bad as it was, right?
Yeah, and it's also good with the technology we have. If you remember, 20 years ago, Hurricane Floyd, mass evacuations along the east coast of Florida due to a similar situation. Higher technology, better technology that we've had in the last 20 years, better forecasting gave us the confidence that this storm would be staying offshore. Good Tuesday evening, everybody. The latest on Hurricane Dorian. Winds down. 2 days ago, it was 185-mile-an-hour sustained winds over Abaco and Grand Bahama Island. Now winds of 110, 959 millibar pressure, moving north-northwest at 6 miles an hour. Each one of these lines right here, lines of longitude and latitude, you can see those. Each one is 60 nautical miles across, or roughly about 67, 68 miles. And so right now, high confidence that Dorian is going to continue to be well offshore of central Florida and the rest of Florida as we go through the day. So it's going to be a wind, rain, and storm surge forecast. The winds, and this is key. Glenn was mentioning this from the last couple of hours. Take a look at the winds in Daytona and Palm Coast. Out of the northeast, 28 mile an hour sustained winds in Daytona, but already out of the west-northwest in Melbourne, and already out of the north-northwest in Sanford. So seeing the fairer weather coming into play, especially as we go into the overnight hours from south to north. Still some gusty winds outside, 43 mile an hour gust in Daytona, 45 mile an hour gust in Melbourne, 39 in Sanford and Orlando. So we have the wind, albeit improving conditions from south to north. And now let's talk about the rain. Hurricane Dorian right now almost due east of Port Canaveral, Cape Canaveral, and almost due east of Orlando. Right now, as it sits offshore, we have the squally rain showers coming into play. So let's take a tour with Guardian Live Weather Radar. Flagler County, again, we've been watching David up there reporting on some power outages. These squally showers to continue to come into Flagler County, northern Volusia County, again around Ormond Beach, and down south of Daytona Beach, New Smyrna, Holly Hill, Edgewater, seeing some light to moderate shower activity coming in. Of course, wind-blown showers. As Glenn mentioned, the strongest winds are staying offshore, and it looks like they're even staying offshore of Cape Canaveral. You remember during Matthew, the strongest wind reported was right at the launch towers of Cape Canaveral. Right now, just some light to moderate tropical downpours in northern Brevard County, southern Brevard County. The winds in Melbourne coming out of the west-northwest already. And so once again, that's going to help cut the rain chances off as we go through the evening hours. Still seeing some shower activity in central Florida, especially along and west of the I-4 corridor, albeit much weaker than it was a little while ago. And last up, Alachua County, Marion County, Putnam right at the very south end around Crescent Lake. You're seeing some shower activity. But again, the bulk of the rain, the bulk of the wind with Dorian so far, and it looks to continue, is right along the coast. Let's go ahead and get the weather headlines then for the rest of the evening. The wind, expect wind gusts 39 to 60 miles an hour right along the coast. Flagler, Volusia, and Brevard right along A1A and to the east. Metro Orlando, wind gusts of 30 to 40 miles an hour overnight tonight. Now, with the west winds coming into play offshore in Brevard County, the storm surge building north right now into Volusia and Flagler. But once again, as Dorian continues north, that will see the west winds come into play as we go through the late night and morning hours, and the storm surge risk lessening in Volusia and Flagler. We'll continue to update you through the overnight hours on Dorian. For now, we'll send it back to you.
Brooks, thank you, sir. Dorian's outer bands are starting to slam our coast.
Our live team coverage continues tonight with the news station's Samantha Sosa. She is live in Cocoa Beach. Good evening, Sam. It looks like you're getting some gusts out there.
Hi, good evening, guys. Yeah, it's been pretty windy and rainy for us for the last hour or so. Before, it was really minute by minute, things were changing. It was calm, windy. It's been sustained pretty much windy for the last hour or so. That wind creating some really big waves out there. I'm not sure if you could see it. We have a light pointing at the wind. Police are patrolling the area, asking people to please stay off the beach. We caught up with the last people who were pretty much leaving.
Dorian dealing some wicked waves. Watch as they crash into the Cocoa Beach pier.
Probably like 8-10 foot waves.
As the storm slowly moves near the coast Tuesday evening, extra windy conditions tempt one surfer.
I might bring my board out, try this out either tonight or tomorrow morning for sure. Depends if they let me or not.
These cops not letting that happen, patrolling the boardwalk where businesses are boarded up and watching out for people who are still on the beach.
Earlier in the day, we were seeing a lot more spectators like that guy, but now that it's getting a little darker and the winds are starting to pick up, looks like people are going home to hunker down.
We're going to be sitting home watching TV.
Staying safe.
And staying safe.
Brian Susi, one of the last to head out, telling me his brother visiting from out of state wanted one last look at the beach.
Oh, this is incredible. This is just incredible. I'm speechless.
The family hoping for mild conditions that won't cause them to lose power like they did during Hurricane Irma.
And we lost power for about 5 or 6 days. So hoping this one isn't the same.
Back out here live, you guys are taking a look at some of those big waves. Brevard County is reporting more than 3,000 power outages right now. Again, police are asking for people to stay off the beach, although there is no curfew in effect tonight. I'm live on Cocoa Beach. Samantha Sosa, Fox 35 News.
Samantha, thank you. Volusia County also feeling the effects of Dorian, a lot of rain and wind.
The news station's Robert Guadarrama is standing by live tonight in New Smyrna Beach. Robert, what's it like out there?
Hey there, Charles Luann. It's kind of like being in a bubble bath out here, but an extremely windy bubble bath. Not very pleasant, right? Take a look at the water now, making its way all the way up to the steps. And let me bring your attention to the steps here. There are 2 steps below where the sand is now. So the storm surge is bringing sand with it as well. And again, as you can see, we have water right up to the boardwalk here in New Smyrna. Now, this area is under a mandatory curfew right now, but people were partying here to the very last minute.
This was Flagler Tavern in New Smyrna Beach this afternoon. Look at the bar and grill a few hours later. A curfew in effect for the beachside communities, sending people home.
Flagler Avenue in New Smyrna is normally a busy place with bars and restaurants, but as you can see today, not a single soul in sight. It's a ghost town.
And good thing residents are hunkering down. Heavy wind and rain now slamming the beach town. Debris and flooding already widespread. As high tide approaches, a storm surge feared. But people are prepared, sandbags in place and boarded up homes and businesses as New Smyrna rides out the storm.
And again, that high tide is coming up in about 40 minutes, so we have not yet seen the highest storm surge just yet. We're hoping that the walls right here on the boardwalk, that they are higher than that storm surge, right? But as you can see right now, we're already kind of slowly creeping up. We're going to stay out here and continue monitoring the storm surge. We'll keep you updated. For now, we're live here in New Smyrna Beach. I'm Robert Guadarrama, Fox 35 News.
All right, Robert, keep us posted. South Florida also feeling Dorian's effects. This is Boynton Beach. Dashcam video showing cars wading through the flooded streets. Police say there's no reason these drivers need to be out in these conditions. Water also creeping up to front doors in this mobile home park.
The news station continues to follow Hurricane Dorian.
We have expanded coverage around the clock. We'll be right back.